Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy, one and only AI Legends, and yeah guys, today I am back with the next part of what if Naruto was neglected by his family and had the powers of Majin Buu. So yeah guys, today I have decided to make the next part of this series and hopefully you guys will like it as well. And if you guys have not seen the previous part of this series, please check it out. You guys will definitely like it. And yeah guys, today I'm going to make the next part of it, but before that, guys, I have made a series known as What If Naruto Was Abandoned by His Family and Had the Powers of Dracula. Well guys, it is quite a unique series as I really wanted to do it, and I have made the first part of this series and I have already uploaded it, and I will try to put the link within the description below. But if you guys search it on YouTube, you should be able to find it because it is not on this channel but Anime Legend channel. So there you should be find it, but I was the one who created it with my own voice, so hopefully you guys will like the series. So please guys check it out, you guys will definitely like it. And yeah guys, if you guys are new to this channel or if you guys have not subscribed yet, please guys do so. It would be a really helpful thing. And also I have put the link of my Instagram within the description below, so please follow me on Instagram. And yeah guys, without any further ado, let's start the video. Last time we left off as we saw that how Naruto has finally left the village. In the meantime, he was increasing his power even further as he already had grasp of his power, but Naruto deep down could feel there was more of the well of power which he was, barely scratching it, as his power was already so much that Naruto decided to test his strength against the cage devil, the S-rank shinobis, the strongest, known as the Jinchurikis themselves. As Naruto went to the, you can say, Mist Village, in which there was a civil conflict already going on, as Naruto decided to participate in the whole civil conflict as Naruto decimated the forces of Kiri as well as fight off against Yagura. Even though Yagura was an S-rank shinobi, a cage, a Jinchuriki, he was nothing compared to the power Naruto possessed, as Naruto realized that his physical powers, especially his magical powers, were increasing even more and more. Absorbing this chakra known as the life force is not increasing his physical strength that much, but his magical powers are increasing day by day. Absorbing these people, but his physical strength is already well beyond anything these people could ever achieve in a lifetime. As Naruto realized that his power, physical strength comparable to Tsunade, it is like comparing toddler to the Sage of Six Paths, as Naruto had that much physical power, even comparable, compared to Tsunade, as Naruto decimated the forces. As after some time passes, as Naruto vanished from the face of the elemental nations, fighting off here and there, some strong shinobi, but it was getting boring across the elemental nations. So Naruto decided to spice things up and therefore founded the, Majin Empire. While on the other hand, the training of Menma and Naruto has come to an end as Minato, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, and Tsunade and Kushina has trained both Menma and Naruto, as both of them were able to go up to the one tail state perfectly, as both of them could control it definitely. While on the other hand, they were trying to go towards the second tail of the nine tails chakra, but it was a bit difficult, but still they were reaching it. So it was a good progress, as even though Minato deep down realized that all of the things he has taught to both Menma and Naruto, his, specialties, he was not able to taught them, seeing that both Menma and Naruto does not have any interest in the ceiling, seeing that how it was boring. So the Flying Thunder God technique was out of the way because it is completely, Fuinjutsu. So he was not able to taught them anything in that aspect, while on the other hand Naruto was able to master, the chakra chains, while on the other hand Minato tried to teach both of them his, bird style, flying bird style. But he was not able to taught them, as seeing that only Menma had the physical strength and the body structure to learn it, and he was not that great into it, seeing that he had inherited the Uzumaki brashness, and whenever things comes to that, he became a brawler, as Minato realized that it was, more of a habit thanks to his Uzumaki genes. So he was not able to taught them his fuming, bird style. But Manma learned it somewhat, while on the other hand Naruto took after his mother. So Kushina was the one who taught her the, Kenjutsu as well as her sealing. But he was able to taught both of them the Rasengan, but both of them had to use a shadow clone to do it. But Minato simply brushed it off. But after realizing some things from the villagers, that how Naruto has left the village, saying that how he was not officially registered into the academy, as Minato forgot to do so. And on top of that, many things happened and he was not informed, as Minato also realized that Jiraiya and Kushina knew about it and they did not tell him anything, as Minato was furious at that. And after some, you can say, confronting his master and his wife, as he realized that Kushina tell him, saying that how S-rank shinobis were trying to capture both Menma and Ruko and they needed a training more. After all, they were more, you can say, special than Naruto, as even though Minato was angry, he could understand somewhat, but still, it did not excuse both Jiraiya and Kushina, while on the other hand saying that how he should be brought back, as Jiraiya should be keeping an eye on him. But they were not able to find it, but in the end, they were able to find a news saying that somehow, you can say, magically a empire, a gigantic, you can say, continent has appeared out of nowhere in the elemental nations, and on top of that, at the center of the sea, just at the shore of the Uzushio Gakure, as Kushina was confused and angry at the same time, someone claiming, you can say, the land of the Uzushio. It was not right. So yeah guys, that was the last part. If you guys have not checked it out, please guys do so, it would be really helpful and you guys will definitely enjoy it. And yeah guys, without any further ado, let's start the video from here on. As Minato has just received the news that somehow a mysterious continent has appeared out of nowhere, and the people are calling it a Majin Empire, as a gigantic M could be seen into the sky, as well as the Majin Empire symbol, as you can say, toads, as well as many of the spies were able to find the information. Same was the scene with all across the elemental nation, the major cages, Onoki, the Tsuchikage, the Raikage, even Metorumi, the Mizukage, was quite confused and shocked at the same time, as well as Rosa of the Kazekage, as they were quite confused as well as a bit, you can say, shocked at the same time. Even though they were shinobis, they were able to control the elements themselves with mere hand signs and a bit of chakra, but there was no one in the whole elemental nations who had such control over the earth element, and there were so many other factors to create a continent. It was literally impossible, and they doubted that even the sage of six path would be able to do if to achieve such a feat, even though he created, or rather said to have created, the moon itself. As they were quite confused, even though Mate Rumi had a bad feeling about it, she had some idea who it could be to be done something like that, but at the moment all the elemental nations were seeing it as a threat. After all, an unknown in the shinobi world is never a good news. While on the other hand, you can say Minato simply shook his head. What's the meaning of this, Jiraiya? How are you kidding? As Jiraiya simply shook his head, Minato, I do not know how is that even possible. You know that I was busy with the training of Menma and Ruko, but my spies were not able to gather any information whatsoever, and I have just received the news recently. And according to them, they have received it just few days ago, and it has appeared out of nowhere, as some of these ships has spotted it, as well as the place is huge, Minato, even bigger than the Fire Nation in itself. After all, it is in middle of a sea. So you can imagine how much area that continent actually possessed, as Minato simply shook his head. And what other information you have been able to gather, Jiraiya sensei? As he said, Minato, I have no idea. As I said, I have just received the information, but according to my spies, they are not able to enter into the continent. They are not welcoming anyone, not even civilians or shinobis, but somehow the people are still there, and they have already stabilized a shinobi system. As Minato was quite confused at the same time as he gritted his teeth. Now, do you realize what have you done, Jiraiya-sensei? Only if you were in the field to give us information, and now we have an unknown continent appearing out of nowhere, already stabilized a shinobi system, just because your obsession with the training of the twins. As Jiraiya, you can say, flinch a little. Minato, I had to train them. They were as Minato slammed his face into the table, even you can say Sarutobi was taken aback from it. And what did you taught them, huh? Nothing. Everything you taught them, we could have taught them as well. Sealing, they were not no good at it. Taijutsu, they are brawlers, god damn it. As well as the Rasengan, I could have taught them as well. I told you within the training as well that you should try to check on your spy network, but no, you were obsessed with the damn training. As Minato at this point was furious, he was frustrated. A continent appearing out of nowhere, a shinobi system already stabilized. On top of that, he had a missing son, and his sensei did not even, you can say, deem it important enough to inform him. Same with the case with his wife, as Jiraiya flinched a little. To be honest, Minato was completely right. Everything they taught them to be. No matter how many shinobis taught a single person, it depends on the person to learn how much they can learn in a specific time frame. So it does not matter if a person learned from 5 kgs at the same time if they can learn so much at the same time. As Jiraiya simply looked down as Sarutobi decided to speak up, seeing that his student was in a bit of trouble. As he said, "Alright, Minato, first of all, you need to calm down. And you have to see this position. First of all, Jiraiya, you have to find out if any other elemental nation has any hand in this or not. And at the same time, try to send some spies into the area so we can get the information what this continent is all about and how did they created it. And if it is possible to replicate the idea, because if it is, then we must make an alliance with them." As all of them simply agree with that, as Minato glared towards, "And I have not forgotten the previous assignment I gave you. So do tell me, in the meantime, in all of these years, have your spies been able to find Naruto?" As Shiraya said, "Minato, it is not the time right now. We have to find about the information about this marching." And but before he could complete his sentence, whole room flooded with bloodlust. As Minato simply glared towards him, "Don't change the topic, Jiraiya. Just answer the damn question." As Jiraiya flinched and gulped a little, "Minato, my spies have not been able to, you know, locate him." As he flinched a little, as Minato narrowed his eyes, "And what good is your spy network then, if it simply cannot give information when the time deems for it?" As as Jiraiya said, "Minato, I think that it is a fluke, but I think that Naruto might be in the Majin Empire. You have to understand, my spy network is the best. If they are not able to find it in the elemental nations, then he must be in the Majin Empire. Who knows, they might have even kidnapped him, trying to get some privilege over you and the Fire Nation. Even though it has appeared out of nowhere, I'm pretty sure that they are not that advanced, and they must have put all the resourcement into just stabilizing their shinobi system to protect themselves. I am even willing to bet that how they are living in the houses of stone and things like that." As they started to laugh, trying to defuse the situation, but no one was laughing. As Minato said, "Alright, if you say so, but which means that it's a joint mission, and do not show your face until you have information about this so-called Majin Empire and my son. Now get out of my sight." As Jiraiya flinched a little but nodded nonetheless, as Hiruzen simply sighed and shook his head. To be honest, he was expecting more from the training of both Menma and Naruto, trying to achieve at least 4 tails or 3 tails of 9 tails chakra, as well as mastering the Rasengan, increasing chakra control, and you can say Taijutsu beasts, seeing that how they have the healing factor, so Taijutsu and physical training should bring them really strong. And he was quite disappointed when he learned that they were only able to control only 1 tail worth of chakra, and they were brawlers for god damn it. As but he simply shook his head. Now was not the point to, you can say, show his disappointment and things like that. It seemed that they have messed up, so they have to, you can say, clean the things. After all, he was the acting Hokage, while on the other hand A was simply looking towards B, as well as, you can say, Jujito. As I said, well, both of you have the mission. You have to go there and try to find some weak spot. If it has it, then Kumo shall conquer the land, and then Como will become the strongest of the elemental nation and lightning country, be the biggest and most powerful. As B as well as Yujiro simply nodded at that. Same was the case with, you can say, the Tsuchikage, who was looking toward Roshi and Han, as well as a battalion of the Rock Shinobi. As I said, you guys already have your mission. You have to went there and show them our strength, and then give them the ultimatum to hand over the empire. Otherwise, they will be crushed under the might of Rock Village. As they simply nodded at that, while on the other hand, Mate Rumi was simply looking towards her council, as many of the council members saying that this was the perfect opportunity, seeing that they were also in a water country near the sea, so the empire was nearest to them, and they can attack them, seeing that how they were just a new empire and they can take over it. But Mate Rumi was reluctant even after you can say the decimation of the forces of Yagura. They had only few of the shinobis. They were lucky enough that no other elemental nation tried to attack them in the meantime. But still, the council was adamant at that, so she had no other choice as to send some of her shinobi to see any weak point in the empire so that if the opportunity presents itself, they will take over. While on the other hand, Rasa was doing the same thing, sending a lot of his shinobis, but he simply cannot send Gara. After all, his power is to use sand, and sand in water will not be a great combination. So, at the moment, his Jinchuriki son is useless as always in the eyes of Rasa, the Kiskich, as all the shinobis were going towards the Majin Empire, all of them with a single thought in their mind that they're going to get some weak point of the empire. While on the other hand, in the empire, you can say a city was found, or not a village, but a city, you can say gorgeous city, and a gigantic tower as well as a mansion was there, a gigantic one, and in a specific room surrounded by seals over seals as well as the magical power that could be sensed as well as could be felt with the immense power. As in it, you can say two people were rushing towards each other, as these two people were definitely identical to each other, but no one will knew because it is a type of clone which Naruto was able to make. It was none other than Naruto, Majin Naruto, with the power of Majin Buu. As both of them were rushing towards each other as they slammed their hand together, shaking the whole dimension they were able to create thanks to the help of seals. As they slammed their fists together, shocking the whole area, shocking the whole dimension created or rather founded with the help of seals. As these were coming towards each other, these were the identical copies of Naruto, as Naruto was able to split his power into 50-50 into both of his bodies, both of them having a part of his mind, as both of them were training with each other, increasing their powers even further and further. As Naruto could feel with the help of his magical powers, he was able to create his own, you can say, continent, knowing full well what will happen in the elemental nations when you can say, an unknown entity, an unknown, you can say, thing will appear. Shinobis will be quite restless and the fun shall begin. As Naruto could already feel in his bones the excitement, the rush of power as both of them were rushing towards each other as the training was going on for hours in this small dimension of their own, and after some time both of them merged together to make the complete Naruto once again. As he arrived back, as he saw that many of the people were kneeling in front of him, as Naruto simply smirked at that as he grabbed, you can say, the towel, and after that some lunch. As Naruto looked towards all the people here, as Naruto simply smirked. In his time in the elemental nations, he was able to go from, you can say, shinobi village to shinobi village to many of the rogue shinobis, and even some of the small cities which were, you can say, oppressed by the elemental nation villages which has population among thousands. They were all oppressed by different of the elemental nations such as the wave country, as well as several other villages, small villages, and many other things in which bandages were attacking, and the elemental nations were not helping them because they did not have the money to give them, as Naruto offered them in his empire, as well as giving them some of his magical power and training them in the arts of shinobis, and a bit of his magical powers increasing their physical strength as well as their chakra levels, and teaching them many other things with the help of seals. And after all, Naruto could create thousands of himself and many other fighting, absorbing different type of abilities. As Naruto smirked, as his eyes started to change, and finally the Rinne Sharingan was shining in his eyes, even though he has no need for these eyes. His own power, his own physical powers and magical powers were far above things, but it was fun. Nonetheless, the eyes, so called the eyes of a god, it was nothing, a joke. The gravitational pull, you can say different types of you can say missiles and things like that. It was quite a joke compared to his physical, or rather his true power, but still it was fun when people see those eyes and get scared, thinking that how he was some kind of, you can say, a legendary shinobi or things like that. But Naruto did not care anymore. It was just fun for him. He did not care about this planet, these people, but still the fun is just fun. As Naruto simply smirk at that. As he looked towards one of his commander, as he said, one of his general, as he simply looked towards him. So what's the news? As the general looked towards Naruto, it was none other than Zabuza Momochi, the one who tried to, you can say, execute the fourth Mizukage, but he was betrayed by his own village. Even the rebels turned against him, saying that how he was a traitor and things like that. He was completely betrayed, even by his, you can say, so-called love, who did not supported him, saying that how the mist village needed her. Even Meiterumi turned against him, but he was easily, or rather so much easily defeated by Naruto and given a hand by him, saying that if he become one of his general, then he will have an opportunity to rule Kiri. As when Zabuza tried to challenge him, he was beaten brutally and even showed the memories when he decimated the forces of Yagura and defeated and destroyed even the whole three-tailed turtle, as he was surprised and shocked at the same time. And vow loyalty to him at the same time. You can say same was the case with a boy named as Haku. And I'm not going to turn her into a girl or anything like that. It is really sometimes weird when people do things like that. But anyways, as it is up to them, their series, their stories, their fanfictions. So yeah, as while on the other hand, Naruto simply nodded at that. So what's the news, my dear general? As Zabuza simply smirked at that as he said, well, my lord, it seemed that the other elemental nations are getting a bit uneasy. Thanks to our spies, your, you can say, Konoha is the one who is at the moment sending Jiraiya of the Sanin and some of their own spies to get entered into the Majin Empire. They were trying before, but they were not able to do so, and it seemed that this time Jiraiya himself will be coming, try to get some weakness in our empire, as well as to see. And at the same time, the other rock village, the stone village, the Kumo, as well as other nation, the sand, as well as the mist, are also sending their shinobis to find some type of weakness into our defenses so they can enter and conquer, thinking that we are just a new continent, even though they do not know where our continent appeared out of nowhere, but still they think that they are strong enough and powerful enough to conquer us as if we are nothing compared to their power. As Abuja simply scoffed at that. After accepted by, you can say, Naruto into his empire, the Majin Empire, he was given a taste of the power which Naruto possessed, and trust him, he got so much stronger. From a high A rank, he became quickly, you can say, a high S rank shinobi. Zabuza can even take on Kisame no problem, as well as his chakra levels skyrocketed, matching or even surpassing a little bit that of Kisame, known as the Tailless Tail Beast. Same was the case with all the shinobis who were given training. Even the civilians who decided to remain civilian were given a bit of Naruto's power, so they were also strong enough to, you can say, distract or take on a Chunin. Not completely, because shinobis take, you can say, do tricks and things like that, so they will not be able to, you can say, avoid all the, you can say, damage or things like that, but still they will be able to keep up with a Ganin no problem, and even be able to beat them. And those were civilians who have never picked up a, you can say, weapon in their whole life. But still, Naruto has a lot of his shinobis. In the meantime, the, you can say, the Majin Empire has been there for years, but he was just simply hiding it with his power. No ceiling, no nothing, just his own magical powers. He was able to hide the whole, even though he did not care, but still, it would be fun when the time comes. As Naruto simply smirked at that, as I said, and to tell me, who are they sending? As Naruto simply looked towards Zabuza, who simply smirked as he said, well, my lord, it seemed that the Jinchurikis are coming themselves. As Naruto simply smirked at that, and who are these Jinchurikis? As I said, well, from Kumo, it is Raikage's brother known as B, as well as his apprentice known as Yujito, as well as Han and Roshi from the Stone Village, and if I'm not mistaken, the Jinchuriki of the slug known as Mitokata from my own home nation, since Yagura is already dead, as well as the battalions of the shinobis from each of the nations. I think that they are trying to conquer us as quick as possible before any other elemental nation do so. Well, their timing is simply just perfect. Wouldn't you agree, my lord? as Naruto simply smirked as he looked towards his other general who was also there. As Naruto smirked as he said, well then, we have guests to welcome, don't we? After all, we have to show them the hospitality of the Majin Empire. As Naruto stood up with a, you can say, gigantic smirk on his face, he was waiting for this opportunity. He just liked the fun, even though he knows that they are nothing compared to his power. But their chakra always make him a bit giddy. His physical power may not be, you can say, increased by absorbing their chakra, but his magical powers definitely do. And it is always fun. And now let us get back to Kumo. They were the first one to approach the area from the, you can say, boats, as they finally arrive as B speak up, as Yujito speak up. So this is the continent, huh? As she started to look around, well, it is a definitely a big one. So, what does our shinobi says? As many of the shinobis, with thanks to some of the technology and some of the chusos were flying into the area as they landed, as they said, well, I think that it is as big or if not bigger than that of the five country. As we whistle at that, that big, huh? Well, we all know that the Fire Nation is the biggest nation at the moment, as Yujiro smirked. Well, soon enough, it will be Kumo and Lightning Country, which will be the biggest. After all, they are just a new continent. I honestly do not know how they were able to make a continent coming out of nowhere, but to be honest, I'm willing to bet that they have nothing other than the whole continent and some of the, you can say, shinobis. Other than that, they are not that advanced, they have no treaty with any nation, so which means that they do not have the technology or anything like that. It would be easy to conquer them. As he simply nodded at that, same was the case with, you can say, the stone village, who were still far away, but they could sense a force of shinobi coming towards the Majin Empire as Han looked towards Roshi. It seemed that Kumo is the one who is already approaching the Majin Empire. So what should we do, Roshi? As Han simply said, as Roshi said, it does not matter. We have our order from the Tsuchikage. If Kumo try to attack us, then they will be taken down. After all, we have to show them the might of the stone village. As they simply nodded at that and simply went towards their own specific ships. And same was the case with Rasa the Cascades, whose shinobi was still far away but still could sense a force of the shinobis as they simply looked towards each other. But it does not matter, they have their order from the Cascades, so they simply went towards the Majin Empire. While on the other hand, Naruto was simply looking towards the ships that were coming towards him. As Naruto simply smirked, he could feel the chakra that was there. In the meantime, Naruto had created many of the physical spells as well as the arts, or known as the seals, to suppress his power. After all, it is never fun to just one punch and they are down. It is never ever fun. So he would like to have a bit of fun with the shinobis, as Naruto noticed that the shields were already approaching as he snapped his finger. And all the seals deactivated around his empire, letting them in. Otherwise, they would have been drawn by the sea itself, even though they do not know it. But Naruto has placed seals in the surface of the sea, so which means that when they will arrive near, it will all be ending. So he just deactivated them for the moment. After all, he would like to have fun. As Naruto noticed that these were around 1,500 shinobis with both of the Jinchurikis. As Naruto noticed that these were Yujito as well as B, as well as all the shinobis as Yujiro stood up. After all, she was the apprentice of Asama as well as known to be the next successor to be the Raikage. As she speak up, who might you be, huh? As Naruto simply looked towards her as he said, well, you have come to my home. In this empire, you may call me Majin. Majin Naruto, the ruler of this empire, as most of the people looked towards each other as Yujito narrowed her eyes. So you knew that we were coming, huh? Well, I must apologize you for that, but it does not matter. We have come with the demands of our wreckage. As Naruto said, oh, really now? So what are the demands of your wreckage, if I must ask? As Yujito simply nodded as she threw, you can say, a scroll towards Naruto as Naruto caught it and opened it as he started to read. As he started to chuckle after reading it, as he burst into laughter, as most of the shinobis there thought that this guy was crazy. as Naruto simply smirked towards him as he said, so your Reikage is just demanding me to hand over my hard work to you so that he can, you can say, get it what he did not have or did not deserve to have. As Yujito narrowed her eyes, mind your tongue, you little brat. Those are the orders of the Reikage. Apply, or otherwise, you will all be taken down by us. As Naruto simply smirked as he said, so why don't you try it, kitty cat? As Yujito gritted her teeth. For some reason, she was getting angrier and angrier whenever she looked towards, you can say, Naruto, as Naruto simply grinned towards Yujito and said, come on, kitty cat, let's see that, how strong you truly are. As Naruto simply smirked towards Yujito, who finally had enough as she rushed towards Naruto, as well as several of the shinobis, as Naruto simply smirked, while on the other side, there was an army of the shinobis with a magical enhancement, as well as all of them high A rank to S rank shinobis easily, as they were simply waiting for the order, as Naruto simply smirked towards them, as Naruto started to flew into the air, as he said, I'll be handling the Jinchuri case, and show our guests the hospitality of the Majin Empire. Wouldn't you, boss? As all of them finally appeared, as Yujito as well as B were taken aback from the chakra they were sensing from these shinobis. These were only, you can say, 200 shinobis in the area, but all of them, the chakra they were releasing was monstrous, as even B was taken aback from that. As Yujito said, you may have shinobis, but it does not matter. There are only 200 shinobis. As Naruto said, don't be mistaken. I have thousands of shinobis. As Yujito was wondering if this guy was, you could say, bluffing. Surely, he might not have been able to gather these much shinobis in just a limited amount of time. After all, according to the spies and the information they have been able to gather, this whole continent or so-called empire has just been recently founded or appeared out of nowhere. Were they hiding it? But how is that even possible? As but these are just enough to take care of things. After all, I have an empire to take care of. And for the trash, these people are enough. As Yujito finally had enough of it. Alright, brat, you're going to pay for disrespecting our shinobis and our Reikage. Come on, B, let's show him the might of Kumo. As B simply nodded at that as he smirked as he unsheathed his swords. As Yujito also, you can say, channel her chakra, elongating her nails, making them into claws as her eyes changed into slits. That's not a smirk. Let's have some fun, wouldn't you agree? While only at the same time, as both of the armies rushed towards each other, as Zabuza smirked, as he swung his sword, throwing it with a, you can say, chain attached to it, as the sword started to spin even faster as water started to gather around it, and then it started to get electrocuted as most of the shinobis were taken aback from the speed at which the sword was coming towards them as they tried to deflect it, but it was absorbing their chakra. As Naruto was able to enhance the sword, the weapon of Zabuza, so it was a lot stronger than just a, you can say, a butcher knife. So it started to cut off the most of the shinobis that were coming towards them as Naruto simply smirked, seeing that his shinobis were easily overpowering. After all, most of them were high A rank shinobis. These Junins, who are only high B rank to low A rank shinobis, known as the Junins, were nothing compared to them, as they were overpowering them. After all, his shinobis have a regenerative property, not great as him, but comparable to that of, you can say, Hashirama Senju, who people might think that was great, having a lot of, you can say, regenerative property, but compared to him, he was the incarnation of the Majin Buu. He can, you can say, generate from a single piece of his body. But enough of that, as Naruto grabbed Yujito from her neck and pushing her away with a flip on her head, sending her flying as B arrived with several of his swords. As Naruto smirked as he started to dodge and weave around the sword, as B was quite surprised. After all, he is a S-rank shinobi easily, even without using the power of his Biju. And this guy was simply dancing around his swords as B got a bit frustrated as he threw his sword and channeled the Biju chakra into it. As Naruto simply smirked as he grabbed the sword, suddenly several arms came from his body, grabbing the swords and crushing them apart. As B was taken aback from it, but before he could even complete his sentence, Yujito slammed into him sending both of them flying as another Naruto was there. As Naruto simply smirked, why don't you guys channel your chakra? After all, I would like to have a bit of fun before I end you. As Yujito simply growled towards him. Same with B, who was a bit cautious but nonetheless complied as he said, alright Brad, I must admit that you're stronger than you let on, but it's about time that you shall pay for disrespecting our wreckage and us, as both of them started to channel their chakra as two tails appeared behind Yujito and her whole body structure changed at the same time. Same was the case with B, who started to channel a tail worth of chakra into his body as both of them arrived into the Biju state, the second state of the Biju cloak, as both of them rushed towards Naruto as Naruto smirked. Now that's what I'm talking about, as he smirked towards both of them. As Yujito as well as B rushed towards B was the fastest one as he arrived in front of Naruto as both of them slammed their face together, making a small shockwaves as Yujito were getting ready to release her attack, but then her eyes widened as B's eyes widened as well. He thought that his power should be more than enough to send these brats flying, but to his utter horror and shock, his arm was ripped apart from his body as it was sent flying as Naruto simply smirked towards him. Did you really thought that you could keep up with me in physical strength? Huh, what a joke. As Naruto backhanded B, sending him flying, crushing his, you can say, jaw. But the chakra of the Biju was still healing him, but there was no coming back of the arm as Yujito finally had enough of it as she released a gigantic stream of fire towards Naruto, trying to engulf him, trying to make him pay. As Naruto simply smirked, as Naruto opened his eyes and started to inhale, you can say, the air. Suddenly, all the fire started to narrow down into a small pathway as it started to change into chakra. As Naruto started to inhale the chakra, as Yujito's eyes widened at that, he has just absorbed, or rather, you can say, inhaled all the fire she has released, as Yujito simply could not believe it. How is that even possible? But before she could even complete the sentence, as Naruto was in front of her, as she said, is that all? I can see and feel even more from you. So why don't you show me your true power? Otherwise, you're just a waste of time. Even when I have split my power to the fourth, and even suppressing it even further. As Yujito was a bit confused why this guy was saying that he has split his power into fourth area, or 1/4 of his power, or and suppressing it even further, but it doesn't matter anymore. While on the other side of the continent, as the rock village shinobis were coming, as in front of them 200 shinobis, as well as you can say one Naruto was also standing there with the you can say smirk on his face. Same was the case with the other side where the shinobis from the sand village were coming, and on the other side the shinobis of the mist and Mitokata, the Jinchuriki of the Sambi was also there, as all of them were there, and in front of each of them were 200 shinobis high S rank and high A rank shinobis borderline S rank, and one Naruto standing in front of them with smirks on their faces. You see that Naruto has split his body and dividing his power in all of the four bodies and suppressing it even further. So each of the four body is using just a percentage of his true power, and they are still dominating the battle just so they can have fun. After all, what's the battle if you can end the battle in a single punch? So, it does not matter. After all, he loves to have fun. So it will be a message. He's not going to kill all of them. Just few of them are going to remain. To send a message to the Elemental Nation, it's about time that the peace will come to an end and the fun shall begin in the Elemental Nations once again. As Naruto simply smirked towards Yujito and made a coming notion, while on the other hand Naruto noticed a build-up of power as B was making a Biju Dama as he released the attack, as Yujito simply smirked at that as the blast smashed into Naruto, making a explosion. As Yujito thought that they have finally got him, they have defeated the so-called empire, and now this land will belong to the wreckage. As she was about to, you can say, laugh, but then suddenly a voice speak up. Is that all? Huh? You're even weaker than that zombie. But then again, you might not be using your full power, huh? Quite disappointing. As suddenly all the you can say dust cleared as Naruto was standing there unharmed as he looked towards Yujito as well as B. Now you guys are just boring me. Don't you have some other techniques? After all, I would love to have a bit of challenge. Seeing that you are no match for me in the terms of physical power as well as taijutsu and things like that. So why don't you show me your true power? So now just let cut the chase and transform into your full Biju forms. I know that, I can feel that, you can do it. So why don't you try it and let me have a bit of fun as his eyes glowed with red glee inside of them, as Naruto simply smirked towards them. And so yeah guys, here I will have this part. Hope you guys enjoyed it. For the next part you guys already know the like part. And the comment section, let's just say the like goal is going to be 300 likes, and for the comment 180 comments. Do that and I shall upload the next part as quick as possible. So yeah guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, peace and subscribe and subscribe.